Hello, I am Kristin, and welcome to my channel, From Chronic Fatigue to Chronic Abundance. This is my weekly live Q&A where I am here to answer your questions about living life with severe chronic fatigue as a symptom. Whatever the cause of your severe chronic fatigue, whether you have no diagnosis yet or you've been diagnosed with something like ME/CFS, fibromyalgia, lupus, Lyme's disease, whatever it is, if you're living with severe chronic fatigue, this is for you. If you've never been here before, welcome. I'm so glad you found me and I'm so glad you're here. The way that these calls work is that we have a chat box over here on the side, and you are invited to drop all of your questions in here, and I'll get to them in order as the chat starts. I don't skip anyone's questions, and I don't want you to think that any question is too big or too small or too weird or anything like that. If it has to do with living with severe chronic fatigue, it is on topic, and I will happily talk about it. I also share a lot of my own experience on this channel. Quick side note, before I launch into my little intro there, I am inviting you to start typing up your questions, get them formed, start dropping them in the chat. And then once I actually start with that, I'll just go through like one by one. And that's how we do it here. So I share a lot about my own experiences having lived with severe chronic fatigue on 3 major occasions in my life as an adult, starting when I was 25. My first severe major health crisis began. I was at the top of the world when it all happened. I mean, I had a great job. I was getting promotions and raises. I was working out regularly. I was getting really into fitness and nutrition. I was building a friends group, a social circle around me, and I thought I was doing everything right in life until disaster struck. And I went through a period of 6 months where I became more and more severely ill. It was marked by at first, it was discrete bouts of extreme physical and mental exhaustion. My muscles would be too weak to let me sit upright even. I would have to lay down. It was hard for me to breathe. I had what I called air hunger and a feeling of never being able to take a breath big enough. I would collapse after very, very small amounts of activity. My exhaustion experience was vastly out of proportion with the effort I had just expended. I had really severe brain fog, meaning it was really hard to think clearly, to hold a thought from one moment to the next, to remember things. And of course, I was seeing doctors. I was getting referred to all the specialists, and they did all of the blood work on me and found nothing. So they told me I was fine and that I just needed to sleep more and stress less and eat better and all that kind of stuff. Here's the thing though, I was already sleeping 14 hours a day. And they just dismissed that fact and said like, well, clearly you need more. And so many of us have had those experiences of having our symptoms so just dismissed by doctors. It's infuriating and it is absolutely wrong. I really wish that there was a big shift in how doctors treat patients when they can't find anything wrong with the blood work they've done, because many of us have been told that we've had all the blood work done and nothing was wrong, so we're fine. But here's the thing, what I found is that conventional doctors, your general practitioners, even your specialists who are part of standard hospitals and conventional healthcare organizations, don't actually know everything that should be looked for. They only know what they've been taught to be looked for in their specialty, and it's not everything, even though they tell us that it is. By looking for and eventually finding doctors and practitioners who have made it a point to read up on research and stay current with research that's being done that isn't taught in medical schools, it's still valid research, they've learned that there are a lot more things conventional doctors don't test for that are important, okay? Now, I don't have a list of blood work that you need to go get done, because here's the thing. What I've discovered is that each of us is going to need different things to heal, okay? What we really need to find is a doctor or practitioner who specializes in people like us, people who have poorly understood severe chronic health conditions, who know what to test based on your symptoms, your personal symptoms and your personal health history. And whenever they know what to look for and they do the actual list of, the right blood work, you start to find things that no one else found. Hi, Anna. I'll get to your question here in a minute. Thank you for getting the chat started. And I say that because I myself have become severely ill on 3 separate occasions, meaning when I was 25 is the first time I began to fall ill. After like 2.5 years of being severely ill, I did recover my life. I got better. I had been so ill that I wasn't able to work, okay? And I got myself back to the point where I was working 40 hours a week in an office again. I was working out regularly. I was rebuilding my social life. I was planning for the future again. Like I had all those things back, and then I relapsed the first time. I was recovering from that first relapse, okay? Things were getting better. I knew how to heal. I knew what I was doing. Things were getting better. I relapsed a second time, okay? And I healed myself from that third time. And me as one person, I needed different things to heal each time. I needed different practitioners. I needed different blood work. I needed different supplements and treatments all 3 times. All right? So if there was one way to heal from this, trust me, I would know and I'd be sharing it with you. Instead of sharing with you specific blood work or specific treatments or supplements, which is what most people want to hear, I don't have that for you. What I have for you is the one thing that did help me heal each and every time, and the one thing I can teach you to help you heal no matter where you are at on your healing journey and no matter what you need for your body. What I'm here to teach you is the healing mindset. The healing mindset is really important for a few reasons, okay? One reason is that it is going to save you energy. We have so little energy on a daily basis as it is that every little tiny bit we save helps, all right? And so many of us get caught up in really heavy emotions that steal our energy. It's really easy to fall into a spiral of living in a feeling of shame and embarrassment and frustration and despair and depression and sadness and all of those heavy emotions, okay? And I want to say it's healthy and good to feel those emotions and know that they exist inside us. The problem arises whenever we get stuck living in those emotions day in and day out. And the truth is, we don't have to live in those emotions constantly. We can feel them and process them and then stop letting them rob our energy. We can reclaim that energy that goes to those negative emotions and we can pour it into our healing journey instead. So the healing mindset teaches you how to not dwell in those heavy emotions, okay? And it saves energy that way. The healing mindset also teaches us how to generate more of the lighter emotions in our lives, the emotions that give us energy, emotions of gratitude, of love, of finding the moments of happiness that we still have in our lives, all right? So the healing mindset gives you a little more energy by teaching you how to live a little bit more in those lighter emotions every day. It's never going to create, a constant 100% of your time is spent feeling happy. That's not healthy or realistic, even for someone who has their health, right? We're looking for more time spent in those emotions. And I think this is a really big, important one. The healing mindset also teaches us how to develop the motivation to keep going. When we've been ill for years or decades, it can be really hard sometimes to answer the question as to why bother? Why do I keep going? Why should I keep fighting, right? The healing mindset gives us those answers and keeps us looking and keeps us moving forward and keeps us focused on reclaiming our health, however long that takes us, however much time and energy and effort and resources we need to call upon. It's really crucial for us to have that motivation to put one foot in front of the other. Terrible metaphor, actually. It gives us the motivation to keep going. It gives us motivation to keep going. So that is what I talk about on this channel. If this is your first time here, I invite you to watch this channel and participate and ask questions and talk to other people in the chat there. That's what it's for. And also to go back to my channel and check out some of the other videos. So if you go back in my channel, in the history, I have a lot of older videos that are very short. So if you have a lot of like severe brain fog and very extreme fatigue, those like 3 to 5 minute videos are the best thing for you right now. So I recommend you can go check those out. And then my more recent videos, I've moved to this format of doing like an hour and a half long live Q&A. No pressure to stay the whole time. This is here for you. So come and watch what you can, watch it in little 5-minute chunks later throughout the week if you need to. Making sure that you don't push yourself too hard to take in this content, really prioritizing your health and resting and working within your energy envelope on a daily basis. So awesome. Oh yeah, we got some people in the chat. Hi, Anna. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Mike. New name there. Hi, Nika. I'm glad to see you guys. All right, we have our first question from Anna. So Anna asks, how did I feel like, did I feel like having a flu or a cold additionally to the fatigue? And if so, what helped against these symptoms in the short term? So to add a little context around this question, it is really common for some people to have, obviously symptoms beyond just fatigue. It's usually fatigue and some other symptoms that people experience. And some people do feel like they constantly have the flu. Some people always feel really achy in their bones, right? They feel really inflamed as well as tired. Not necessarily like nauseous and nausea. I don't think nausea is very common with severe chronic fatigue like this, but I think for some people the achiness is, and the cold, maybe some people feel like they are chronically infected in their sinuses or going through issues like that. So the answer to my question is I would say there was one time in my 3 bouts with severe chronic fatigue where, yeah, I did feel like I constantly had a cold. I didn't have the achy flu-like feeling, but early on, I definitely was chronically sick. Like I came down with one cold after another, after another, after another. And they never really quite resolved before the next one hit me. And that was before I had any diagnoses. This was back when I was still 25, just turned 26. And had no answers whatsoever, had seen, 5, 6, 7, 8 doctors at that point. I'd been misdiagnosed as having asthma. And they all insisted it was just asthma. Everything in my life, all the problems were being caused by asthma, which wasn't the case at all. I didn't have asthma. And for me, the chronic infections, the chronic colds, I should say actually, it wasn't just colds. It wasn't just like sinus problems that I was having and throat problems. This is when I was sleeping 14 hours a day, one cold after another. I couldn't walk down the street without getting lightheaded and winded. I absolutely could not work out anymore. I'd left the gym at that point. My piercings were all getting infected. So like I've had my ears pierced, this like the basic earlobe. I've had that pierced since I was probably 6 or 7. Okay. So this is a very old, very well-established, very healed piercing. And all of my ear piercings were becoming infected all of a sudden. I was constantly having to clean out my ears with rubbing alcohol to stop infections from taking over my ears, which is super bizarre. If you have any piercings, it's weird for all of them to be chronically infected all of the time with pus and everything. It was really gross. My hair had changed texture. Like you can see, like I just blow dried my hair yesterday after my shower. I just have very naturally straight, boring, kind of shiny hair. It had turned dull and wavy. Like my hair texture had actually changed. It was crazy. My nails were all breaking off, extremely, extremely fragile, almost like paper. They would rip at nothing. And with all of those symptoms, most of those resolved to a degree once I discovered that I was severely iodine deficient, okay? And this is the kind of thing where if I had just left my health in the hands of the doctors, we would never have found my iodine deficiency. And I honestly don't know what would have happened to me. It was something I self-diagnosed through online research and by ordering an online test. And then after I got the online test, I really wanted to validate this iodine deficiency and make sure it was real. I went to my general practitioner and said, I think I have this iodine deficiency thing. I would like to be tested for it. And she knew that I was severely ill and was going through a lot of things, but she didn't believe me about the iodine deficiency. She straight up looked at me and said, no one has that anymore. We fixed that back in the 1800s. And I was like, well, I have it. Would you just test me for it? And she tested me for it. And sure enough, I came back as severely iodine deficient. Okay. So I began supplementing with iodine, and pretty quickly that relieved the hair. My hair went back to normal. My nails got a lot stronger. I didn't need to sleep as much. But the biggest thing for me was that I stopped chronically getting colds, and my piercings stopped being chronically infected once I started supplementing with iodine. So those, that was the time period when I did feel like I always had a cold, and my energy also improved a little bit with iodine supplementation. At the time, poor naive Kristin, at the time I thought that by finding the iodine deficiency and treating that it would solve all of my problems completely, and it was not all I needed. I needed many, many more things to finally heal, reclaim my life that first time. So as far as dealing with the symptoms, like you asked about in your question there, I was doing what I could to deal with the symptoms, but they didn't really alleviate. Like I was cleaning my ears with rubbing alcohol, and I would take stuff for having a cold and use like lozenges and like be blowing my nose all the time. But really the best way for me to treat that was to find the underlying reason for those symptoms and treat that underlying reason, which was my iodine deficiency. Not always an easy thing to do, but that's why it's important for us to do some research, but also work very closely with doctors to confirm suspicions that we have, and so that the doctors can guide us on what blood work needs to be done, and then also on how to go about treating that. So that, for me, that is the only experience I have there. And I would always say the best thing to do to help treat symptoms that accompany the fatigue is to look for the root causes. These things aren't going to go away until we address the root cause. Kind of like, what's a good analogy here? I would say it's like if you were to, I don't know, ride your bike down the street every day, and every day you got a flat tire. What's the best way to treat that flat tire? Well, you can put a patch on the flat tire, but if you ride your bike over that same part of the street and you get another flat tire every day, the best way to treat that is to clean up the debris or glass or whatever is in the street that's giving you a flat tire in the first place, instead of patching it every day. All right. So health issues like ours that are severe and chronic and poorly understood, it just means that conventional medicine hasn't discovered the underlying root causes yet. And we've got to do that hard work ourselves with doctors who understand that kind of work and who specialize in that kind of work. They're few and far between, but they are out there. All right. Hi, Bobby Biggins. That's a fun name to say, Bobby Biggins. New name, so welcome. All right. You'd like me to talk about sleep, and you've been in a really good routine at night and you're relaxing a lot, but you can't sleep at night. All right. Thanks, Nika and Anna. All right, Bobby, sleep is definitely something I have talked about quite a bit on this channel because it is super, super important. And it has been maybe a month or so since I've talked about it. So this is a good time to dive more into that. So there are a lot of factors in our lives, in our environments, and our internal bodies that influence our quality of sleep. All right, relaxing is a really great one. Preparing for rest and for bedtime that way is a really smart move. And I think there are other things to look at to see if they're perhaps influencing your sleep. All right, so actually give me 1 second while I take a sip of kombucha. So Without knowing more information about the specifics, in your bedroom, in your home, your nighttime routine, your morning routine, I just got a hair. Oh gosh. I can give like a general prescription, I guess I'll call it, on what to assess to determine what to work on, what might actually help you sleep better. So there's a few different like areas of good sleep hygiene. One is your physical environment. Another one is your nighttime habits and routines. And the other ones are kind of ongoing, I'm going to say like mental or emotional factors that can be influencing your sleep. Maybe I'll just call it internal. There's environmental, external, and there's our habits and behaviors. And then there's also our internal world to assess. So the environment around us is the easiest to assess and the easiest to do something about. When you are in your bedroom sleeping, how dark is it? Like, I don't know if you live in a city or in the middle of nowhere, or if there's a light outside your window or whatever, but if it isn't like completely pitch black in your room at night, you're going to want to take steps to address that. You may need to get blackout shades for your windows to block out as much light as possible, because our bodies are very, very sensitive to light. Not only our eyes, but there's actually been some research done that shows that our skin is very sensitive to light exposure, and light, even as dim as moonlight, can be sensed by our skin. And we can have hormonal reactions to that light that helps keep us awake. It prevents us from getting into as deep of a sleep when there is light exposure in the room, even if we have something over our eyes. So we want absolute darkness. We also want to make sure that there aren't lights coming from inside the house. Do you have electronics or anything in your room that's giving off a glow at night? Okay, a red glow is okay, actually, but anything that's like a green or a blue color especially is going to be very detrimental to your sleep. You want to make sure you put some dark electrical tape over those lights or remove those things from your bedroom at night. We also want to think about the type of light that we're being exposed to in our homes and our bedrooms, for at least 2 hours before you go to sleep. You want to minimize exposure to bright white lights, and you especially want to minimize your exposure to blue light. Bright white light and blue lights are actually very stimulating to the body, because kind of like what's happening outside my window right now. As we've been evolving over the years, when we experience a lot of bright white light or blue light, our bodies think that it's noon outside, right? Like it's the middle of the day and we should be wide awake. So it starts creating a lot of wake up hormones. And, 2 hours before bed, we don't want our body creating wake up hormones. We want it to be creating the let's go to sleep and chill out hormones. And that's the space that we want to be in. So what that means is you don't want to have any LED lights in your home that you're using at night. You want to be using either like soft incandescent bulbs at night, or you can actually buy bulbs. This is what I do. You can actually buy bulbs online that are called like candlelight bulbs. And I'm not talking about those little like plastic things that look like candles. I'm talking about bulbs that emit light closer to the red end of the spectrum. So more like red, orangey, softer light. I'm not talking about like red lights. You're not casting red light about your apartment, but it does have that more like orangey red firelight, candlelight glow to the bulb. And it doesn't emit those like white blue rays that keep the body awake. It helps us get into a deeper state of relaxation by allowing our body to get into nighttime mode. So in addition to blocking light inside and outside the home, and when possible, changing the light bulbs that you're using in your home at night. If you're going to be like on the computer or watching TV, or if you don't have full control over the light exposure in your home at night, I really strongly recommend getting like red or dark orange goggles that you wear at night. This is what I do. Because sometimes I'll watch TV with my boyfriend before we go to bed, and we don't have like a red light filter on the TV. So I get these really dark orange goggles that I wear, and that blocks the white and the blue light from hitting my eyes, and I definitely get better sleep when I wear those for 2 hours, at least 2 hours before bed. An example of this, we were out late last night. We were at a hockey game here in Philadelphia. So the arena is full of super bright lights, super big screens, tons of bright light, tons of blue light hitting my eyeballs. And I did not sleep well last night. I did not get deep, restful sleep. I slept much longer than normal to feel the same amount of rested that I normally do, because of all that blue light, like keeping me awake so late last night. Let's see. All right, so I would say those are the major environmental factors to look at when you're trying to evaluate and assess your sleep. Oh, I would actually add one more in there. To really go next level, research has shown that the deepest, most restful sleep tends to happen in a cold room. So if you can, right now for me, it's wintertime. So I just open the door in the bedroom out to the balcony and let lots of cold air into that room for like an hour before I go to sleep. I sleep very well when it's very cold in there. If you can't do that, or it's the summer, maybe you can turn the AC up in just that room. And do what you can to really create cold air, a cold environment that lasts all night. When I say cold, I'm talking like as cold as 60 degrees or colder if you can tolerate it. Like I really love having a really warm, like down comforter in a really, really cold room. Those are the best nights of sleep that I get. Not necessary, but it helps a lot of people. So then I said there are also behavioral things that we can look at and change. And I kind of talked about those in the environmental ones a little bit. So like behaviors are, completely eliminating the blue light, especially from hitting your eyeballs 2 hours before bedtime, and wearing the like red or dark orange goggles, plastic goggles, to protect yourself from that. You can get like just literally, as long as the plastic that you're looking through is like dark orange or red, you can get them for like $10 or $15 on Amazon. You can probably get them in your hardware store or whatever for cheaper. Other behaviors are making sure that you're doing really calming activities before bed. You don't want to do anything that is getting you excited, even emotionally or mentally, too much before bed. You don't want to watch any really scary movies. You don't want to watch really dramatic thrillers right before bedtime. If you're going to read, make sure it's a book that you're enjoying, that isn't super mentally stimulating, but is just something that's a little more passive to read. And, obviously it's probably isn't something anybody here is doing. You make sure you're not trying to push yourself physically before bedtime. You don't want to be getting your heart rate up for any reason. And for me, I tend to sleep pretty well if I take a long bath before bedtime, like an hour before I want to go to sleep, hop in a nice hot bath for a long time. And I find that to be very relaxing, especially if I add Epsom salts. I know not everybody here is heat tolerant. Many people here are going to be heat intolerant. So a long hot bath is a bad idea for those people. They should not push themselves to do something like that. It's not worth the consequences. Another behavioral thing you can do is look into supplementing with magnesium in the evening. Magnesium in the evening is very powerful for helping us create more deep, restful sleep. You can get magnesium in a few ways. You can buy it as a supplement. There is a specific supplement it's either Nature Calm or Natural Calm. And it's a powder you mix into a liquid. You drink a little bit before bed. And you get magnesium in that way, and it helps produce deeper states of sleep. And it also actually gives you more vivid dreams that you remember when you wake up in the morning. It's a pretty cool phenomenon to see the supplement working in that way. I get my magnesium primarily through long hot baths because Epsom salts actually contain a lot of magnesium. When you put a cup or more of Epsom salts in a bath, your skin is absorbing the magnesium the whole time you're in there. So it's really great in that way. And then finally, this is not super popular, not super common, but they also sell magnesium sprays, like a spray bottle. And you stand there, you get naked, and you just spray it all over your skin and let it sit for like 10 minutes or whatever as it dries. So it's a little inconvenient, and for me, it's insanely itchy. As the magnesium solution dries on my skin, I get so itchy. You can't scratch it because then the magnesium's coming off. But it's an option that some people enjoy. Let's see. So I would say, and then you could start experimenting with melatonin, but in my own experiences, I really advise against experimenting with supplements like that on your own. I would do it under the supervision of a doctor who has experience helping people find the right dose of melatonin for them, because you can read online about what doses you should take, and it can mean nothing for your own personal body and what's right for you. Like me specifically, my doctor had me experiment with melatonin, and I'm very sensitive to even very small doses of it, and it didn't really help me sleep that much. So it's not a great supplement for me personally. But it could be a great thing for you. You need to experiment a little bit and find someone who can guide you through that process. Let's see. All right. I think those are the big environmental ones. And then as far as the internal ones go, I just noticed. All right. So Anna's posted some interesting comments about this. Let me visit these before I move on. Let's see. Anna says, I heard that sometimes the brain does not produce enough melatonin, aka sleep hormones, which is responsible for sleep. If you have a lack of tryptophan or serotonin, that could be the case. Yes, I agree, but there's always a reason the body's not producing enough melatonin. And if you don't have enough tryptophan or serotonin, there are reasons you don't have enough of those either. And getting to those root causes are going to be a sustainable long-term solution to this, instead of just being like, oh, I got to supplement with melatonin the rest of my life. You probably don't. But in the short term, it can help while you're figuring out root causes. Let's see, valerian tea does help. Yeah, I've had valerian tea before, and it's amazing how it can knock you out. You don't want to have too much, but you do need to have enough. Just 1 cup is usually enough for most people. It's not a surefire fix. I know people who have taken it and it just doesn't put them to sleep, probably because they have other stuff going on that is counteracting the valerian root tea. So you need to have a lot of good sleep hygiene habits established, and then you can add valerian root tea into that, from my experience. But I think it's worth trying. It's a very cheap thing to try, and it's a very easy thing to try that I don't think you need medical supervision for. Going to bed not too early, but just when you get really sleepy also helped her. And yes, you're right, Anna. It really is a little bit different for everybody. And, sleep hygiene is a journey. It's not just I'm going to do all the right things and my body will change overnight and everything will be fine. It can take you weeks or months of establishing good habits and routines before your body has everything it needs to produce really deep quality sleep consistently, right? If we've had disordered sleeping habits for a long time, then it can take us a while to overcome those internally, because we need hormonal changes to take place, as well as physical habits and routines changing. So there is a lot to it, and it's going to depend where your body is at, and how quickly you find which elements of sleep hygiene are needed for you to feel really good and rested. All right, so continuing on with the internal stuff that can be going on, that can be influencing your sleep. Sleep is driven by our circadian rhythm, okay? Our circadian rhythm is a complex orchestration of hormones and processes in the body that are constantly fluctuating 24 hours a day to produce feelings of wakefulness in the morning and throughout the day, and to produce feelings of sleepiness, and creating the environment for restful sleep at night. All right, one more second. I need another sip. One of the hormones involved in the circadian rhythm is cortisol. Now, whenever we've heard about cortisol, typically we hear that cortisol is the stress hormone, and cortisol, or too much cortisol, is bad. But the reality of it is a little more nuanced. Having some cortisol in our system is actually a healthy thing and a good thing. And it's actually necessary, all right? So what happens with cortisol is that we're asleep in the mornings and it's about time to wake up. Our our circadian rhythm sets off a whole host of like things happening inside our body. And one of those things tells our body, another part of our body, to create a lot of cortisol. So our cortisol actually begins to rapidly spike while we're still asleep when our body wants us to wake up. And the exact timing of when our cortisol spikes depends on a lot of different things that I've been talking about already, okay, that influence internal factors. And as that cortisol is spiking, that's when we're slowly waking up and becoming more conscious and aware of our surroundings. And we have more energy and our brain starts functioning and sleep patterns and dreams and everything shut down. Cortisol drives that wake up process, but there are other things that drive cortisol. Okay, I just want to establish like there's a lot of cause and effect, and it's a very intricate system in the body. It's not just cortisol, it's very intricate. So you have cortisol spiking first thing in the morning, and then it slowly starts to come down, right? Throughout the day. So we kind of have this big spike, and then we have this like gradual descent throughout the day. And the timing of this is all driven by our biology. And then in the evening, we start to see a marked dip in the cortisol levels. Now, in order to feel sleepy at night, our cortisol has to drop low enough. If our cortisol doesn't drop because we're too stressed during the day, or we have other issues that are driving our cortisol and adrenaline up too high, or we're just living in the sympathetic nervous system too much and we're not dropping into the parasympathetic nervous system, that cortisol is going to stay high and we're not going to get sleepy at night. In healthy, normal people, the cortisol will just naturally drop down enough that we feel sleepy at night, and then we're able to fall asleep with very, very low cortisol levels in our blood. And that cortisol level continues to drop as we get into deeper and deeper sleep, as we go through our sleep cycles throughout the night. And then naturally, the body knows when to start spiking that cortisol again, and we wake up the next morning, okay? And if we aren't going through that healthy sleep pattern, that sleep-wake pattern, we're not feeling rested when we're waking up in the morning, it's because something is going wrong with that cortisol cycle, which also means that there are other sleep hormones, other circadian rhythm hormones that are also off. Things like melatonin are also going to be off, all right? And melatonin is helpful because it's what helps regulates the clock. The reason melatonin is helpful is because it is a sleep hormone, but the real power of melatonin is not taking it one night to help you go to sleep one night. The real power of melatonin is that if you start taking it every night at the same time, very, very important, every night at the same time for like weeks, it resets your circadian rhythm. Your circadian rhythm starts to learn that, oh, this is the time that melatonin comes out. I need to make sure that my cortisol levels are low enough at this point as well. So your entire circadian rhythm starts to set itself around that time that you take melatonin every night. But you have to be committed to going to sleep at that time and to falling into that new pattern on a daily basis. And then it also helps drive when you're going to be waking up in the morning based on when you take the melatonin at night and how much you take and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, it's a little more detail than I normally go into, but I hope that's helpful in thinking about how your body's working and all the different processes and things that are happening to drive that sleep-wake cycle, all right? And I hope talking about cortisol that way helps you understand that the way you feel at night is totally driven by what's happening during the day and what happened before you even woke up that same day. Like how your cortisol spikes. If it goes too high, that's going to have impacts on sleep the same day. If your cortisol doesn't go high enough, which is another problem people can have in burnout, then you never really quite wake up and you constantly feel groggy, and your cortisol levels sometimes can just plateau at a level where you're not really awake, but then at night you also really can't fall asleep. That's another issue people can have. So like it's really interconnected, and sleep isn't something you can work on just at night. It's something you've really got to be thinking about cultivating the right conditions in your body for sleep all day, every day, if it's really something that you feel like you need to fix in yourself, to work on and improve in yourself. Yeah, I think those are really important. And then also, like I touched on earlier, we want to make sure that we're not in the stress, in the stress response too much during the day, and especially at night. We want to get out of the fight or flight response. We want to get our bodies into rest and digest, parasympathetic mode as much as possible, and especially in the evenings when we're designed to be more relaxed. That's definitely going to help sleep. I'm noticing how much the light is impacting this. I don't have anything. Let me see if that'll work. I think it's just going to cover the lens. All right, maybe we're just going to have to deal with that. Oh, one more idea before I give up. Let's see if the Post-it helps. Oh, I think it does. Oh, nope, it's just covering it now. Sorry, guys. Okay, I think that's better. Let's see. Oh, Anna says, yeah, the tea stopped working after a week. Yeah, the valerian root, it doesn't address any of the root causes of sleep dysfunction, and it doesn't interact with the body in a meaningful, deep, long-term way like melatonin does, so, which is why I don't think you need doctor supervision for it or anything like that, because it's not getting to the root cause, and it's not impacting any of the main drivers of poor sleep or good sleep in the body. So Bobby Biggins, big answer to your question. I think it's worth going through each of those environmental factors, the behavioral factors, and then also, excuse me, perhaps exploring some of the internal factors. Like it's one other thing I'll add is that it's one thing to do relaxing activities. It's one thing to like read your favorite book and take a nice long hot bath, or watch your favorite show for 10 minutes, or like sit there and meditate. What's more important than doing the activity is how you feel. Because if you're not actually feeling that deep calm and that you're not feeling deeply relaxed, you're not really getting the benefits of those activities, even if they are calming, relaxing activities. If your mind's still going 100 miles an hour, if you're still emotionally stressed about something, if you're still emotionally upset about something, if you're still trying to work on really big problems in your head, you're not really in the relaxation state of being. And it's important because how we feel is actually an indication of the processes and symptoms that are dominant in our bodies at that moment. So feeling good and feeling relaxed is important because that's how we know we've actually gotten our bodies out of the stress response and into the rest and digest healing response in the body. So we need to make sure that we're actually giving ourselves permission to feel really good and relaxed while we're doing those activities. That's even more important than the activities themselves. Which, that aspect of things, that focus on feeling good and acknowledging that feeling good is important because it's an indicator of the state of my body, is something that took me a very long time to learn and understand. And once I was able to grasp that, even in small amounts, that's when my healing journey really turned around, because I was able to stop preventing my own body's healing mechanisms from taking place. When you live in the stress response, it shuts down your immune system. It shuts down all of the neurological responses. It minimizes, for example, when you're in the stress response, your brain doesn't feel pain as much. Like it's shutting down, sensing pain, because it's prioritizing energy to go into sensing other things to help us get out of a bad situation, right? And whenever we get out of that stress response and into the relaxation, rest and digest and heal response, we get more resources diverted to our immune system, so our bodies are physically able to heal more and heal better and provide more nutrients and things to the areas of our body that need it most. I appreciate the question again. Every time I talk about these things, as I talk about it and get more questions from you guys, it kind of helps me think through what's a useful way to present this information to you. And I almost feel like this needs to turn into an ebook or something about how to get better sleep, not because it's what we need to heal. It's like sleeping better and being in the relaxation mode more are not everything we need to heal, but what they do is they lay the most solid foundation for healing, right? Like we need a super solid foundation of making sure we're getting the best sleep we can get, and also getting our bodies into that relaxation healing mode as much as possible, because that's going to give us the best chance. Once we do find the supplements and treatments that we need, those supplements and treatments will work better if we have that solid foundation first. So you are welcome, Bobby Biggins. Great name. Do you identify as male or female? Because Bobby can go either way. I'm just curious. Well, we are 45 minutes in already. I talked about sleep for a long time. Do you guys have any more questions? I'm here. Let's talk. What's going on in your lives? What are you struggling with? What's hard? What's going well? You know what? Maybe let's do that. There's no questions right now. Would you guys be willing to share a win? Share something that's going well in your life. It could be health related. It could be relationship related. I don't care. Let's take a minute to feel good about the things that are going well in our lives. And I will start just to get the ball rolling. One thing that's going very well in my life right now, I feel so silly, but it's true, are these pants. These are like so cute. Look at these leopard print pants. They have this cute like tie on them. They fit really well. I get compliments on them every time I wear them. I had to go into an office for a meeting today, so I'm a little more formal and corporate. But yeah, these pants are just a great thing in my life right now. And another thing that's going really well in my life, I'm in the process of launching a company, and I was interviewed for someone's podcast yesterday. So it was really exciting for me to get to talk about my new professional endeavor in a way that's going to be publicized and marketed. Excuse me. And what was really, really cool, and I will share this podcast interview with you once it's live, because the man who interviewed me actually lived with severe chronic fatigue syndrome. I think he was actually diagnosed with ME/CFS for several years as an adult. He was in his 50s, and he also got better, all right? And what we do is we end up talking a lot about elements of the healing mindset, okay? And it was so great to talk to this man because how much of what I have to say about the healing mindset and what helped me heal is true for him as well, all right? So I think it'd be really cool for you guys to hear what I have to say from someone else's perspective as well, and to give you a little more proof that what I'm talking about doesn't just work for me, it works for other people too, okay? So yeah, I'm not sure when that's going live. It could be 6 weeks from now. It could be a couple weeks. I'm not really sure. It's up to him, but I will definitely share that here as soon as it's available. Oh, Bobby's a female. Hi, Bobby. All right, cool. I think we have all ladies on the chat today. That's the first. That's cool. Oh wait, unless Jamie, you know what? I think Jamie's a guy. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard for me just seeing names. I'm more of a visual learner. So like if I could see your faces, it helps me like know who is who and remember what's what. Like Anna's little picture with her name on here and her profile, she has a picture, helps me remember who she is. Because otherwise I can get bad with names. I wish I wasn't, but it's true. Okay, Mr. Andy, that is off topic. We don't talk about stuff that isn't related to living life with severe chronic fatigue here. All right, we got a win from Bobby. Bobby says her win is that even though she's not feeling any more energy, she is feeling more robust and her crashes are a bit shorter. And I know, Bobby, sometimes we want to say that that's not a big deal, but that is actually a huge win for you to be feeling better, to feel more robust, and to not spend as much time in crashes. And that's fantastic. You know, the more we learn to pace ourselves, the more we learn to live within our energy envelope, the more we learn to avoid crashes by doing less. And the more we find ways to do necessary things by using less energy, the faster we're going to heal. Because every time we crash, it's like going negative on your bank account, right? Like you not only went negative on your bank account, in this case, your energy account, but there's a fee that you have to pay. So you're not paying back just the energy you used. You have to pay back that plus another fee, and it's harder to get out of that hole. And every time we crash, we dig a deeper hole. And the less we crash, the more we stay above that like zero balance, the more energy and time our bodies can put into healing whatever is going wrong with us. So that is a big win, to start chipping away at those crashes and minimize those. So good work. Nika could walk for 15 minutes 3 times a day. Oh no. And then she crashed and now can't walk for 5 minutes a day. That's the fee. That's the payback of a crash. And that's why pacing is so important. Pacing is definitely something I think everyone with severe chronic fatigue should learn how to do. If you're not familiar with pacing, honestly, you can just Google like MECFS pacing, and there is a ton of really, really good material out there about what is pacing, why is it important, how can you do more of that in your life, because being gentle on yourself and avoiding crashes is definitely key to reclaiming more of your energy every day as well. And the healing mindset really helps us to avoid more of those crashes, right? It helps us prioritize our health over the things that we want to do that cause us to crash. I'm going to stop there on that topic. So, Nika, really sorry to hear about that. I know how frustrating that is. Okay, Anna. Okay, she's at her parents' apartment for a week, and that makes pacing much more easy because she gets food and tea and she doesn't have to get up at all. And then it's easier to keep heart rate low when she can stay in bed. That's awesome, Anna. So it sounds like this is a bit of a vacation for you, an easier week for you, maybe an opportunity to get ahead of those crashes and that and add to that energy bank more than you take away from it. So I want to take that maybe as your win, unless you have another one to share. I think that'd be great. Hi, Raymond Moore. Welcome to my channel. Let's see. All right, we're hitting up. We have another like 8 to 10 minutes here, guys. I would love to read some more wins, some things that are going well for you. I'm also here to answer more questions that are happening. If you have any deeper questions about things we've already talked about today, let's dive into that stuff. I'm here. Anna, yes, it's a win. Awesome. If I went home to visit my parents, it was never a win. That always took more energy than I got out of it. Ugh, it always comes down to the relationships you have, though. And I'm glad you have good ones. Let's see. Nika, if you feel comfortable sharing, I'm curious, what led to your crash? What were the circumstances that made you crash so hard? And what got you there? Like, what was happening in the days and weeks before that crash? You know, is there anything that you've learned about how to avoid that scenario again? Or have you thought about how to minimize your crashes going forward so that you can you know, regain and reclaim more of that energy that you had before? Only if you're comfortable. If you're not, it's okay. You don't need to say anything. Let's see, what else? I mean, there's always a million things I can talk about. I just want to make sure I talk about things that will help you guys that you care about, which is why I do the Q&As now instead of just publishing videos every week. Man, I used to publish videos every day, and that got to be just too much for me to do. It takes a lot of effort to write and rehearse and film and edit and post videos and everything that goes along with it. So these weekly longer videos work for me, and I think they still seem to be providing you guys with some value. So I think it's a win-win. Bobby asks, do I think getting outside is important even when you're severe? I think exposure to the outdoors can be very therapeutic. There's caveats there, of course. When I first fell ill, I was I was living in the city and I had a roommate, and, going outdoors for me meant going to sit on the sidewalk pavement or, hanging out in the street. I definitely didn't have the energy to like go walk the half hour it would have taken to get to a park. So, sitting out in the concrete wasn't necessarily like a good outdoor experience for me to be having where I was living at that time. Um, so I wouldn't recommend putting yourself in that kind of situation if it's not comfortable for you, if it doesn't feel like a nice experience, because that wouldn't have felt like a nice experience for me. However, if you live somewhere where you have a yard and grass and there's somewhere to sit that's kind of nice, I think it can be very therapeutic and can feel healing for people to be in places that are nice to be, that are outdoors. Provided, if you need to be lying down, then provided you have a place to lie down comfortably for long periods of time. It's not going to be very good for you to go sit outside if you have to force yourself to try to sit up and you're getting exhausted and you crash and all that. Like, that's not a good scenario. I do think that fresh air can be healing. I do believe that feeling some sunlight on your skin can be healing. But again, there are caveats there. If it's really hot and humid and you don't tolerate temperature extremes well, like many of us, then sitting outside isn't going to be very therapeutic for more than a few seconds, right? Sitting outside is not great if the energy it takes you to get outside and the energy it takes you to get back inside is more than you have to spare. In those scenarios, I think it could be great if you just get to sit indoors next to a window and just have that window open for a while. Get some fresh air in that way. It also helps, circulate the air in the room, keep things a little healthier. If you can get some sunlight in the room sometimes, that can be great, but only if you can tolerate it. Some people have extreme sensitivity to light and stimulus. So if the light is too bright for you, maybe if you can wear really dark shades and sit and enjoy some of the warmth of the sunlight, that can be great. But if that's too much stimulus for you and that's too exhausting and it gets too warm, then it's not a good thing for you either. Maybe you need to sit somewhere in the shade. So, like I said, high level, I believe in the healing power of fresh air and some sunlight. But depending on your specific health scenario and where you're at and what you're sensitive to and how much energy you have, the specifics of going about getting those things could really drastically vary, and we need to really match how we move and how we expose ourselves to the outdoors to meet where we're at health-wise. So what seems like a very simple question has kind of a complicated answer. Let's see. All right, Anna, your boyfriend and you are thinking about paying somebody for cleaning and cooking. At least a little bit, because those things make you crash. Yeah. And your boyfriend is burned out by doing all these things. Anna, I think that's smart. It can be hard sometimes to justify paying for additional help, but I think it's really smart and wonderful that you guys are considering both of your health in this. Because no, your boyfriend is not as sick as you, but he deserves to be able to rest when he needs to as well, right? And it sounds like you know that, but I'm explaining that for other people on the call because this can be a hard decision to make. And I love that you guys are thinking about this. And maybe it's not something you can do every week, but every little bit helps, right? Some people find it easier to find pre-made foods online and order those. They're getting closer to being more affordable. All the time. There's less and less expensive, healthy prepared food services out there now. Sometimes my boyfriend used to do one where you could get a month's worth of meals delivered in a box, frozen all at once. And it was about $10 per meal. Which is, I think for a lot of people, $10 a meal can be on the high end of reasonable for dinners every night. I think that'd be a lot for lunches and breakfasts every day. But, I think it's smart to look at what you need and also what your boyfriend needs to stay healthy, right? So, I guess my question for you then would be what's holding you back? What's holding you guys back from just saying, yep, we're going to get someone to clean once a month even. We're going to, bring someone to cook or wash our dishes, or we're going to go with a meal plan. Like, what's holding you back from just saying yes to that? Is it purely a resource thing? Or is there something else going on? I know for me, there was definitely an element of shame, like because I was home all the time doing nothing. I definitely had this societal conditioning of like, oh, well, I should be cleaning and I should be cooking and I should be doing all of these things, but I knew I didn't have the energy for it. And I still felt a lot of shame and I still beat myself up over it. And I wasted way too much energy beating myself up. I wasted way too much energy feeling those heavy emotions about something that wasn't good for me to do, right? Like I refused to just accept my situation and the reality being that I can't do those things like I want to. And it's okay, right? It can also be really hard to justify the expenses, but if the expenditure is going to help you avoid crashes, then you need to look at it as something that's helping you getting better, right? If something is helping you avoid crashes, it is helping you heal because it's preventing you from getting worse. And I know it can be hard to look at someone cleaning for you as helping you heal, but it is. And when you look at it in that light, it becomes a healthcare cost. And what is it worth to you to avoid those crashes and save that energy? And what's it worth to your boyfriend in order to save his sanity and his health from getting too burned out? Does the cost of those things provide you enough value in your life to maybe make sacrifices elsewhere in order to pay for this thing that's good for both of your health? That's how I would hope you would look at it. And that's how I hope other people on here would look at that kind of decision. Because it's really about everything needs to be prioritized in the lens of, does this help me heal? If yes, I should be doing everything I can to make sure it's part of my life. Let's see, it feels strange to let a stranger into your apartment. I completely agree with that. I completely know what that's like. But at the same time, that's why you find a good person that you can trust. The way I've gone about it in the past is like I don't know if Craigslist is even good anymore, but in the past I've used Craigslist and I email with somebody a few times. You can get a pretty good sense of whether or not someone's a good person, I think, even through email. I've been able to weed out the weirdos and just find good people that way. Or you find a company that has a reputation on the line, and these like small local companies who offer cleaning services, they know that people aren't going to hire them again, and they're going to talk badly about them if they have people that aren't nice to be around, if they have people that steal, that lie, that do all kinds of horrible things, right? So the small local companies who offer cleaning services tend to have really wonderful people on staff because they know that that's an essential part of their business's success. And I've definitely had really, really wonderful people come to clean my home who are really nice by working with small local companies. So, yeah, I hope that helps a little bit. All right, you're going to get deleted. And hidden. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, report. Where do these haters come from? These trolls, these internet trolls. Let's see, Anna, you think you would choose a woman in your age because it would feel strange if a 55-year-old woman cleaned for a 26-year-old? That's okay. If that makes you feel comfortable, that's totally fine. It's your call. Like, it's cool to start thinking about how to make this work for you. If someone more your age makes you feel more comfortable, then that's the person to go for. Other people might enjoy the idea of like, someone their grandmother's age helping clean their home or something that might be more comforting to them. Who knows? Just throwing that out there. Yeah. So like, Anna, just go for it. Like, whatever makes it work for you. whatever leaves you feeling most energized and comfortable in your own home, and you feel like it's going to be the most healing way to approach this. It's awesome. Oh, Bobby, you're welcome. And I always appreciate that. It makes me feel so good to know that these are helping people. That's why I do them every week, because when I'm not doing this, I'm always thinking about it. Like, I need to get this information out there because I don't see enough people talking about these aspects of life with severe chronic fatigue. So it means the world to me that you appreciate what I'm doing. And I hope you come back. If you guys go to my channel, I have live streams scheduled for the rest of January. There should be a little button there underneath the future videos that says like set reminder. And what that'll do is it will remind you in your local time when a live stream is coming up and what time it's coming up, so you don't miss the next one. And basically it's every Thursday at the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Don't know what your exact time zone is, but you can do the math on that one. And yeah, we're here every week. So we take new questions. And let's see. Oh, if you guys would want to help me back in some way, I would appreciate you sharing one of my videos that was really impactful for you with other people who are dealing with severe chronic fatigue, whether you share that in a direct message or an email, or if you drop the link into a group that you're a part of and say something nice, that would be really helpful, because I'm trying to reach more people with this message and this channel. So so glad we connected again this week. I hope 2020 is heading in the right direction for all of you, and that you're continuing to make tiny little steps of progress towards more health wherever you are at in your healing journey. So sending you all so much love and health. I'm Kristin. Take care. Bye, guys.